and writers. Today we're going to talk about how to write a 5-paragraph constructed response essay from 2 paired passages. This is our video lesson 1, and we're going to talk about step 1, which is our outline, and the thesis, or as I like to say, the thesis, because it's our one sentence with our 3 big points for our essay. All right, as you know, we have read Building a Bridge from ReadWorks and Who Needs a Better Mousetrap, also from ReadWorks. These texts are both attached at the assignment below, so you can go through and reread like I am now. So, today for step 1, we're going to talk about writing our outline. First, you need to think about the prompt. The prompt for our essay is also attached in Google Classroom. The prompt is, for every real-world problem, there is a potential solution. Write an essay in which you explain the process that people engage in to solve problems. Be sure to support your essay with information from both texts. This is attached in Google Classroom on the assignment. So the first thing I do when I am writing an essay is I make my plan. I like this eye-shaped graphic organizer. You're going to need a paper and a pen or pencil to do the same thing at home. We start by making a line across the top. This is going to be the section for our opening paragraph. We make a line across the bottom. This is going to be our closing paragraph. And then we make 2 lines down in the middle. We've divided our paper into 5 parts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're going to put notes for our essay in each of these different categories. Each one represents a different paragraph. We're going to talk today about the opening paragraph. Just like one paragraph has an opening sentence, the essay has your first opening paragraph. The first sentence in your opening paragraph for your essay needs to be your hook. The hook is what excites your reader. It's what gets your reader interested in reading your writing. After your hook, you're going to have your main idea. This is one sentence that says what your essay is going to be about. This is the big overall point. After your main idea sentence, you're going to have your thesis. This is a very important sentence. It's like your preview for your whole paper. It's one sentence with your 3 main points that you're going to talk about in your 3 body paragraphs. After your thesis sentence, you need your closing. Remember, the closing sentence just has to do with this paragraph. So you're just going to wrap it up to give a sense of closure to your reader. So, we read Building a Bridge and Who Needs a Better Mousetrap. You've read these texts a couple of times by now, probably. So, I looked through my paired passages and I found evidence in my text that I wanted to use in my thesis. Remember that the thesis is going to be about what the prompt is asking. You've noticed I've highlighted some of my ideas. Let's go back and think. The prompt says, for every real-world problem, there is a potential solution. Write an essay in which you explain the process that people engage in to solve problems. Be sure to support your essay with information from both texts. I'm going to think to myself and I'm going to decide that I know what this is asking me. Okay, there's a potential solution for real-world problems. That means there's something we can do to solve real-world problems. And it's asking that the essay to be about, we're going to explain the process that people engage in to solve problems. So I'm going to restate that to myself. That means to me, how do people solve problems? How do people solve problems? And I know because this is a 5-paragraph essay and I have 3 body paragraphs, I'm going to come up with a thesis, one sentence, that says 3 big ways that people solve problems. But what I really need to do is to make sure that I can cite sources to go with each of my 3 points. I looked through the text, and I've made some choices about my thesis. You're welcome to use this same thesis in your writing as well. If you want to challenge yourself and come up with your own, that's fine too. So, how do people solve problems or how do people find solutions to problems? I've decided to say, after reading our work, in order to solve problems, people decide on the criteria for their solution, comma, weigh the constraints, comma, and think through possible solution strategies. STRATEGIES, strategies. All right, and remember, this is just our draft, so it's okay if it's messy. This is where you get your thinking on the paper. So my thesis: in order to solve problems, people decide on the criteria for their solution, weigh the constraints, and think through possible solution strategies. I came up with this thesis based on the text. I need to know that I can quote things to go with each of my 3 main points. So I'm going to look here. The first main point is, in order to solve problems, people decide on the criteria for their solutions. This is my point 1. The first thing people need to do is decide on the criteria for their solution. This is my second point. They weigh the constraints. And my third point is that they think through possible solution strategies. So, this one point here, I need to make sure that I have a quote to go with it, because this main point right here is going to align to this body paragraph here. Body paragraph 1 is going to be all about my first point in my thesis. Body paragraph 2 is going to be all about my second point in my thesis. And body paragraph 3 is going to be all about my third point in my thesis sentence. I know I'm going to be able to use these points because I have text evidence for quoting. I have highlighted my points. When I was reading, I looked at these words and I decided to highlight them. Maria suggested throwing it down into the water and seeing if it reached the other side. We've read this already. We know she's talking about the log. That seems imprecise to Alex. What if the branch did not reach the other side of the river? So, I'm going to use this right here. This is text evidence that people think through possible solution strategies. I'm going to save that for later for tomorrow's video. I also found in the text, who needs a better mousetrap, because we need to quote from both texts, I highlighted the words, if you're setting out to build or buy a better mousetrap, it's important to decide what you want the mousetrap to do for you. Right here, that's representing deciding the criteria. We've read above where it defines what criteria means, and we know that this is an example of that. So I know I have a quote to go with my point where they decide on the criteria for their solution. And then I have my third piece of text evidence. I highlighted the words, When you're deciding which mousetrap is the best, you will always have to keep track of your constraints. This speaks to constraints. That's why I chose the words weigh the constraints in part of the steps, part of those 3 things that people do when they're deciding how to solve a problem. What you need to do today is you need to open a document, so make a Google Doc, title it your name, and solving problems essay. Then you are going to type your opening paragraph. Make a plan like mine to keep your writing organized. You need to type a hook. Make your own hook sentence. You need to type your main idea. What's this all about? I'm going to give you a clue. Go back and look at the prompt to decide what one sentence we could say to describe what this whole thing is all about. Then you're going to type your thesis. This is a very important sentence. You need to make sure that your thesis has 3 points for your 3 body paragraphs and that you'll have text evidence to back up each of those points. The last sentence is your closing. This can go with your main idea. This is to give a sense of closure to your opening paragraph to prepare your reader to start into body paragraph 1. All right, I look forward to seeing your writing. Good job!